Absolutely. What is up, everybody? We are calling all nerds, and you have answered the call, the beacon in the sky, if you will. We are your friendly neighborhood hosts that talk about everything within the entertainment zeitgeist, and we are so excited to talk about some amazing stuff tonight. We have our hosts here, myself, Max Samber, we got Peter Meisey, and Tyler Niederhuth, and we are all here to talk about today our review of 2022, specifically the entertainment industry during that year. As we head into the new year, we're kind of looking back and seeing what our favorite things from last year were. It could be video games, TV shows, movies, board games, whatever we want to talk about. But I just figured this would be a really fun way to start the year and really kind of talk about as well at the end what we're really looking forward to, hopefully, this year. Because we all know games get delayed like nobody's business, but we're hoping that it's going to be another great year of video games. But yeah, I know we talked about this a little bit just a few minutes ago, but how do you guys want to go about this? Do we want to do kind of like a round robin thing where each of us kind of touches on one of the things that we've loved about this year? And if it's something that one or both of the other people already have on their list, we can kind of all talk about it at once kind of thing after the person says their piece, or we can do whatever you guys want to do. But yeah, I'm up for anything.
I say if you want to just kick it off with your list, and then we can go from there. If there's like a couple, maybe like 2 or 3 specifically we want to talk about. As always, I'll be putting in the description whenever I get everybody's list. It'll have Max's list, my list, and Peter's list in the descriptions of the podcast. So if you're ever curious about what the whole list is, you'll be able to view it. But yeah, I say just go over it and we'll just hit on maybe like top 3s or something like that and see time wise how things are going.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. I'll start us off then. I'll pull up my list on my phone here. All right. So my top games for 2022, I got in no particular order. And some of these did not come out this year. They're just games that I played for the first time this year. Some of these.
Yeah, that's a good thing to note. It is just kind of what we did in 2022. Well, like not necessarily pure released.
Exactly. Horizon Forbidden West. Yakuza 0. Yakuza 2 Kiwami. Live Alive. God of War Ragnarok. Trails of Zero, Xenoblade Chronicles.
The first one?
Yeah.
Nice.
Crisis Core, and Kirby and the Forgotten Land.
Oh, man, I didn't know you got that.
What? Yeah, it was great.
Okay, that I just got to hear about. I'm very curious about that game. How was that? Was that fun? Was that cool?
Yeah, I loved it. Ricky
wow.
And I both loved it. It was... One of the fun things about it is I normally don't play Kirby games. You know, I like Kirby as a character. I love the music. I love a lot about it. But I never was really into the 2D side-scrolling Kirby adventures. They were always a little too easy for me. I think the only one I ever loved to play and beat was Crystal Shards on the 64. That game is great.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that was really the only one I could ever really get into. And even then, I would play just the mini games on that nonstop. Yeah. But this was, I almost even kind of forgot about this one because it was so early in the year. But Kirby basically went the way, or Nintendo took it in a new direction, kind of following the same course as like Super Mario Odyssey, where Kirby kind of enters a 3D semi-open world realm where it's like you still go into a level, but it's a big map. You kind of travel across it. You know, just like any 3D Mario game, there's collectibles to find in the level, there's things to get and everything like that. And just a quick synopsis of the story before I jump into everything there is, there's not much story to it, but basically Kirby gets sucked into a wormhole and gets transported into the Forgotten Land, which is basically Earth. Because most of the levels you're at are like just deteriorated places that look like New York City or California. It's very funny. And he's sent there along with all of the Waddle Dees. And the Waddle Dees are held captive by the main villain of the game. And so pretty much the course of the game is you go to every level and you try and rescue every single Waddle Dee that is held captive in that level stage. And one of the fun things is as you rescue them, your main hub area, which is Waddle Dee Town, opens up with new things like a cafe, a movie theater, like all these things that are like really fun to like go into and play like little mini games and stuff like that. And it's cool because it's a 2-player game. Although you can still always play it as Kirby, you can also have a second player with you, and they can play as Spear Waddle Dee, which is literally a Waddle Dee that has a red bandana and a giant bamboo spear, and then 2 people can play together.
That's cool.
The game is not hard whatsoever. Like it's very simple, but it was a blast to play for Ruthie and I, and it lasted a good while for us. I think in total, because we 100%ed the game. But it took us, I would say, about 15 to 20 hours.
That's decent.
It was decent. Like it was a lot of fun. I at first I was like, oh, this is going to last us, like 10 hours, something like that. But it was longer than I thought it would be, and it was just a blast. It was a lot of fun. Just if you've played a 3D Mario World game, you've played this. Really, the only difference is Kirby can suck up his enemies and learn their abilities, and that part was really great because you could kind of one of the cool things about the game was that you could, in the hub world in Waddle Dee Town, as you unlock new abilities, there's like 20 abilities you can learn in total. You can level them up and increase their power, change how they look, and you can, before the level starts, actually choose a power beforehand and just go through the level with that power if you so wish. And also in the game is the fact that Kirby can now swallow real life inanimate objects. So
that's right. It could be a car, right?
Like the first thing you can use is a car. Yeah, like where Kirby will almost swallow a car. He can't quite swallow it all the way, so his body's just like kind of like, it's kind of morbid when you say it, but it's like almost like he's a skin over the car. But like it's Kirby, so it's cute. But there's other things like you can swallow fans and you can swallow vending machines, and they all have these like special abilities that they use to fight enemies. I highly recommend it. Don't know if it's worth $60, but we paid full price for it, but we had a blast with it. It was a lot of fun. I don't think it's $60 anymore, or if it is, I'd be shocked. But
yeah, that's cool. I'm glad to hear that it was actually like a decent game. I kind of forgot that came out, but I knew there was excitement. Peter was excited about it. He was definitely interested at the time.
Oh,
I feel
I didn't know it had a hub town.
Yeah, that's cool.
I am more interested in it now than I was, because I was very interested, and then I didn't know based on like what initial thoughts were like. But then, like hearing about what you're talking about, it sounds a little better than what I've heard. So,
it's definitely fun.
I've seen it on a lot of top lists. I mean, like a lot of like 9 out of 10s and early like 5 out of 5 ratings on stores and stuff. It did well.
It just kind of came and went. Yeah.
I only saw I only watched like a stream of it briefly, and I was like watching like a mid-level, and I think my eyes were just looking for like, is it exactly like Mario Odyssey? I didn't look too far into it.
Yeah.
So hearing these like other details though, it's like a lot.
It's like Mario Odyssey Light. It's the stages aren't as big, like whereas like in Odyssey, you literally can just traverse an entire area, find hundreds of moons. It's not like that. Like it's still very much like there's a stage, like 6 stages per world kind of thing, and like you just kind of go. But I would play Kirby games in this format, and I was like, okay, like I would totally play a sequel to this. Like it was great. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I feel like Kirby to you is kind of like how Sonic is to me. Like I like Sonic as a character, but I never played Sonic games. But like, if people ask me about like Sonic, I'd be like, yeah, Sonic's cool. I just didn't actually play the games myself. I just knew I liked Sonic. And then like recently I liked some of the new stuff, right? Yeah. Same with Zelda for me. Zelda 2 is the same way. I never played the old games. I didn't really have Nintendos. But I like always respect Zelda because I understand and like am aware that Zelda's like who Zelda is. So
yeah.
That's cool.
I love that. Yeah. Did you want me to go through other two highlight ones, or do you
Yeah,
want
go
me to
for it,
wait?
man. Yeah,
you
go
sure?
for it. You good?
Gosh, I'm looking over my list. Really, I'll save God of War Ragnarok for later because I know it. I'm hoping at some point when all three of us have beaten it, I just want to do a whole podcast about it. 'Cause
It
it's
needs
just,
it. Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Definitely my game of the year is God of War Ragnarok for sure.
That's
by
cool.
a mile.
How was your
Really?
Yakuza experience? That was your first time trying that, right?
I was actually just about to say the only other thing I wanted to talk about outside of Yakuza is Xenoblade. Yeah, Yakuza is fun. I really love the games. Honestly, though, if you've played one, you've kind of played them all. Because it's the same. Gosh, how do you explain Yakuza?
Well, in
It's
Japan, there's gangs. I'm just joking.
yeah. You're the mafia. No,
In Fight Club, we don't talk about Fight Club.
right. Well, it's funny. My journey with Yakuza really kind of actually started 2 years ago when someone was like, you love Japanese culture, you love anime, JRPGs, like you will love the Yakuza games. And I was like, really? Like they're not turn-based. And then I saw Like a Dragon was coming out, which is by far my favorite Yakuza game.
Oh, it's so good.
But I played that last year and I was like, okay, like I need more of this universe kind of thing, even though I know it's not the same fighting style yet.
Yeah.
And so after I beat Yakuza Like a Dragon and saw that story, I was like, wow, like this is really good. And I went back and played Yakuza 1 Kiwami, Kiwami is like the remastered or remade version of the first Yakuza game that came out like 20 years ago or something like that. And it follows the story of Kazuma Kiryu, who is the main character, the Dragon of Dojima is his name in the Yakuza. Not as great of a character as the main character in Like a Dragon. I think that he is excellent, way better than Kiryu. Kiryu is more serious, more of a blank slate, but he's still fun. He's an honorable guy. And I really love those two games, and so I was like, I want to try playing all of them. And so I kind of made a mission for myself where I was like, there's so many games now of this story. I'm going to start with 0 and then play 2 and then go from there. Like 3, 4, 5, and 6 are the last ones. And then it goes to Like a Dragon. And so this year I played Yakuza 0 and Yakuza 2. Both were really great. Honestly, the Yakuza series, in my opinion, has the best format of minigames I've ever seen in any kind of video game.
That's what people
ever.
like the most, I hear. Everybody always talks about the mini games. It's like Mario Party up in there. It's crazy.
It is. Like it's every Sega just gives everything into these mini games. And honestly, I kind of agree. I've learned how to play Mahjong through Yakuza. Like I became
Peter, you need that.
Mahjong. Yeah. You play like what are the different games they have?
Isn't there like a whole segment where you just like become a business?
Yeah, that was in the newest one. Yeah, Like a Dragon, you're a business entrepreneur.
Yeah, there's a big mini game in each of the games that are different. So like in Yakuza 0, you kind of do the same thing as in Like a Dragon. It's a little different where you're really just buying sections of, it's set in like the 80s when like there was a huge economic boom in Japan, where like money was literally just like flying everywhere. And so there's 2 huge mini games in that, whereas like in Yakuza 0 as Kiryu, you're kind of becoming a mogul, you're buying out the town basically. And then there's a section where you play as Majima, who is you don't really know him from Like a Dragon too much, but he has like an eye patch. He's kind of crazy. Great character though. And he runs a host club. And so like you like hire girls around the town and like you like they are basically like host club hostesses where like you bring people into the club and they buy drinks and talk to these pretty women and like you just raise up your host club until it's like the master host club of Japan. And it's always just everything is just so over the top and crazy, and I just eat it up. I love it so much. And at the core of all that, that's just all the side content. Like these games are so large. And what's funny is that like even though the town you're in is the same in every single game, it never really gets old because there's different mini games every time you play because it's a different era of time. And so in like Yakuza 0 and 2, it was just very refreshing. I definitely could not play all 6 in 1 year because it would just be too like repetitive, I feel like. But at the core of these games are really powerful stories, like really well written narratives. I think one of the things that I loved about Like a Dragon was that there was a dub version that was a very good dub in English, whereas in Yakuza 0 through 6, it's only Japanese, so you have to read subtitles. And it's still very well voice acted, but the stories are no less great. I mean, like they're just very anime. Like you're fighting to save your estranged daughter, or you're fighting to like for your partner in crime that like you rose up in the Yakuza with, and then they betrayed you, and like it's like that kind of stuff, you know, where it's like it kind of puts this romanticized look of the Yakuza in this game. And it's a lot of fun. I really love these games, and I can't wait this year to play 3 and 4. It is going to be a little jarring because games 3, 4, and 5 aren't as remastered as 0 through 2 have been. They're a little old, so like it's going to be a little weird to like play those games, and it's going to be in an older format. You can still play them on the PS5. You can buy like all of them or play them all on like PS Plus if you have extra. But I've committed to it. I want to see the full story, and like especially because it's not stopping anytime soon. I mean, we're getting just a snippet of something I'm excited for. I don't think it's coming out this year, but they're coming out with like a Dragon 8, like that's been confirmed, and so the story is just going to continue on. So I'm very excited for that. Yeah. And then the last one I really wanted to hit on is Xenoblade, which was probably, I would say, out of every game I've played this year, is probably the biggest surprise. I've attempted to play Xenoblade Chronicles twice before this, and I liked it. I liked the story. I thought the world was so cool, but I could just never really get into it. It was too big for me. I just felt like I couldn't really wrap my head around it, like the gameplay, the battle mechanics, and it just like I felt like, man, this is going to be too big for me. I don't think I can do it. And then for some reason this year it finally just clicked. I think it was just the right time. It was kind of a slower year of games for me personally, and so I just kind of finally sat down. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to playing this game all the way to the end, and I did, and I was so rewarded. I now see why Xenoblade is so beloved. Like the story of Xenoblade is unreal. The ending is probably one of the craziest and most impactful endings of any JRPG I've ever played. I would say the story is okay for the most part. Like it's not anything to write home about, but the ending and what they do in the game is, what's the word? Like it's just it's very inspirational. Like it's like, wow, like I've never seen that done before. Like that's actually really cool that you're going for that. And I think it was well worth my time. And it made me actually start Xenoblade 2. I could not get into Xenoblade 2, though, unfortunately. They changed... Xenoblade 2, I've heard, is kind of the black sheep of the family of the trilogy. Like, I like the animation style, but they changed up the battle mechanics in a way that I really did not like. And there's a whole gotcha mechanic in the game, too, with blades, which are like what you fight with in the second game. So I couldn't really. I played like about 10 hours of the second game, but I was like, I can't get into it like I did the first one, and so I dropped it. But I did watch the entire story as a movie on YouTube, and the story was just as great. Like it was so good. Yeah. So I mean, I didn't end up playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3 this year, but I am going to play it this year, and I have no doubt it'll probably crack my top 10 because I've heard Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is the best of them. And it's also, in a lot of people's opinion, the best JRPG that was released this year.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's the last one. They've said this is the last of the Xenoblade story. So, and it's you will be well rewarded if you have played Xenoblade 1 and 2. Needless to say. Do you mind if I do a quick spoiler on it real quick? Or
on 3 or 1 and 2?
On 1 and 2.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So this is why I say it's very inspirational, or I don't know if that's the right word, but it's very cool. So in Xenoblade 1, at the end of the game, I don't know if either of you have even started Xenoblade before, but
I've started the first one, I think. I can't remember.
So the premise of the game for you, Peter, too, is in Xenoblade, the whole world is literally just an ocean, and there's two giant titans that have battled each other for millennia on this planet. And finally, this is all in the narrative at the beginning of the game. Finally, they deal each other a killing blow, and they both kind of die, and their bodies are just left to stand in the ocean for the rest of time. And your characters live on these titans. And so you're almost like these little microorganisms that are on these gigantic titans, the Mechonis and the Bionis. And the Bionis are bio people, like with the term, are fighting the Mechons, which are robotic people, automated. And so as you're traveling the world, one of the cool things about this game is that you're going to the Bionis knee, or the Bionis hand, or the head, or the neck. They're giant areas. This game is huge. But you're always on this Titan, and on the horizon, if you look at the sky, you can see the shadow of the other Titan there, just staring at you. And it's such a cool thing. And the spoiler is that at the end of the game, you find out that this whole world came about from a previous version of Earth, where Earth basically scientifically advanced so far that they could create their own universe using all these different mechanisms and this thing called the Zohar. It all goes into really deep mythology and religious text that I have no clue how to handle. But basically they created a new universe that our characters live in. And so you live in this world. In Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you live in the old abandoned Earth, where whereas in Xenoblade it's an ocean, in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 you're in the sky with these titans that kind of live in the sky. But by the end of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you dive into the earth beneath the clouds, and you find that you find cities of the old Earth. And so it's they're both in the same universe, if that makes sense, but they're separated, both worlds of 1 and 2. And from my understanding, in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, you're in a new world as well, but all of the worlds are converging and kind of coming together to become one universe in Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which apparently is part of the main story of that. But it's one of those really cool Cosmere or big world building kind of things that I'm a huge sucker for, if anything else. And so I get really excited.
Did you play all these? Is this a Switch game? Is that where you're able to play them?
Yes, they're only on the Switch.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was really praised for, was that it runs really well on the Switch, and it looks pretty. It looks really good. There is graphics popping and stuff like that, but
yeah, it's a given at this point.
Yeah, it just but it uses the technology to a good amount, I would say.
I feel like maybe I played the second one, or maybe I'm not even thinking of Xenoblade, truthfully. I could be thinking of a different game, but I thought there was one where I started out as a guy who was on a ship, and it was kind of he wasn't a trader, but he was a treasure hunter almost, and every time he'd go back to the ship he'd sell. Was that Xenoblade?
Yep, that's Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Yeah.
It is too. I'm trying to think how I played it, because it's a Switch, right? It's Switch only for Xenoblade 2. I know I tried it, and I know I was kind of just I didn't like the combat, I think is why I stopped.
It's so slow.
I can't. I feel like I must still own it or something because it's like, how did I get a hold of it? I'm very concerned on why I have no idea how I own or how I've played that game.
What's funny is I remember because you actually bought it. You said you were going to try it out. I remember you telling me, and then you played it for like 2 hours, and you were like, "Nah, this isn't it."
Yeah, I wonder
that.
Maybe I did like used at GameStop, and then I like returned it at GameStop or something. I have no idea. Yeah, I just remember 2 was like really rough to get into.
Really random thing here, but like that just reminded me of the time you got a like some Gundam looking game, and it was a long time ago, and it had like this sort of weird gameplay mechanic, like it, but we both thought it looked really cool. It just the same thing, like the gameplay like turns out to be not as good as you're expecting.
Nothing's worse than when you like are so excited to buy a game and you play it, and within a few hours you're just like, oh no, I don't like it.
Yeah. So 3 they fixed like the combat, I guess. Like people like it again more.
Yeah, this is apparently 3 is the highest rated, and because it goes back to the first Xenoblade's roots, but refines it in the right way.
Yeah,
where combat is quick. I think they kind of
nothing sucks more than when you're in a JRPG and every single battle just seems slow. And there's so many like low tier battles, right? And you're like, dude, why is this like a 10 to 15 minute fight when it just shouldn't be? Especially when you get like so late in the game, you're like, why is this still taking forever? That's
why I love the Trails series, especially the newer like games, because they have a turbo mode. So when you're in battle, you can switch off the button click and you just go super fast, and it just ends battles within seconds.
Yeah, classic things that JRPGs do. Well, that's cool. I'm excited. I would like to try 1 then and give it a shot. Do you have it digitally or you have it physically?
Actually have it physically, so I can definitely let you borrow it. Yeah,
that'd be cool. That'd be a nice way to like try it out, because I've been wanting to get into like JRPGs more and like try them out. I think that's why I tried Xenoblade 2 and I got like kind of let down. So
I think even if you had attempted to push through Xenoblade 2, once I got to the gacha mechanic, I was like, no, I'm out. I was like, I don't want to do this, because it was so dumb. But overall, it was still a great story in the game. The game itself just wasn't my cup of tea. The second game.
Well, that's cool. Do you have is that all that was on your list? Is that just those? So
those were really the main 3 I wanted to touch on from this year. I mean, other than Ragnarok, which I'm going to save for a later day when we've all finished it. Yeah, because I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah,
until you guys have experienced it.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, well, I'll move on to mine then. So for 2022, I have, I think, like 9 games and a couple shows and a board game. So I got the Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga, God of War Ragnarok, Sunhaven, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Pokemon Arceus, League of Legends, The Quarry, World of Warcraft, the Dragonflight expansion, Disney's Dreamlight Valley, and surprisingly enough, a mobile game, Marvel Snap, which I will definitely talk about that one. Nice. TV shows, a few TV shows that like stood out to me was a lot of like, this year seemed like a big year for Marvel TV shows and like Star Wars TV shows and stuff. Like Obi-Wan came out, Andor came out, and there's also just like talk about future shows. Like they're talking about the new Ahsoka show that's coming out. Bad Batch just got their new season launched, and like, they finished Clone Wars recently. So it's just like that whole like Star Wars universe and what they're doing. I think the anime was this year too, right? Or was that last year?
Visions? That was early this year.
Yeah, that was that was awesome.
That was so great.
And then and all that Marvel stuff. I just remember like it was like Friday nights, like Peter and I just be like watching the new episodes of something. Those were always fun. And then hands down, my absolute movie of the year was Top Gun Maverick. So I put that.
Yes.
That's like honestly, that's one of the best movies I've seen in a while too. Like that's just such a good movie. And then for board game, I have down it's Ravensburger Disney Villainous. So Ravensburger, they're a pretty decent sized company. They've done like they do toys in general, a lot of like puzzles and whatnot. And then they got this. I don't know if sponsorship's the right word, but Disney allowed them to use like their stuff, so they created the Villainous games. And the one in particular that I liked a lot is the Star Wars one. So that is my whole list. But I'd say the one that I was most surprised about was Marvel's Snap. That game it's fun. So there's like a meme that was going around where everybody was like, you remember when Raid Shadow Legends had their ads on almost like every content creator, and everybody was just like, man, all these content creators must be like held at gunpoint right now to make these ads for this terrible game that nobody actually likes. Well, that was like people were like trying to talk about that again, but the funniest part was that all these content creators who were sponsored were like, no, like you don't understand, genuinely this mobile game is awesome. And there's some elements to it that I don't 100% like, but the way that it's described, I think best is that it is a card game that just gets rid of all the unnecessary bullcrap, similar to what Gwent does. So like I personally think one of the reasons why Gwent was so popular was because it was a very straightforward card game and could be as like difficult as you wanted to be, like as you made it. And you could like modify it a lot of different ways. And that's the same with Snap. So like Snap, there are 3 lanes, and each lane is a location that has some type of perk, maybe like, like heroes of this location gain this power and all this kind of stuff. And then all your cards have different abilities, like destroy this, add power here, all these kind of things. And so the goal of the game is after, it's only like 5, maybe 6 rounds, whoever controls 2 out of the 3 locations with the most power, they like win. And that's it. And games are like fast, they're quick. Seeing all the characters you get every Marvel character you can think of. Captain America, Thor, all these guys. And then complete randoms that you've like never even heard of. It's really cool. And a nice thing about it is like you don't have to drop a dime to get cards. Like they're just given to you just through playing the game. And as you upgrade a card using like in-game currency, which again you can buy but you really don't have to, the cards change their rarity. So like a normal card will just look like a regular card on the screen, and then, which maybe I can show you guys, and then as you like, I guess quote unquote upgrade it, it changes in rarity, and then new things happen to the card. Like the card will become a holographic, and then the card will like, they call it a break, and like it'll become 3D plus holographic, and then it'll be 3D holographic and animated. And it's like, so it goes from like common to uncommon to rare to like ultra rare and stuff. So
and
like
this is all a mobile game that you can
all
download.
A mobile game. So like, for example, I have, it's kind of hard to get these cameras, but this is just an Ant-Man, right? He's just a normal card. And then I have this like rare one, which is a little hard to see on the camera, but he has like a holographicness. And as I turn the phone, he like also moves with it. So it has like some 3D motion effect to it. So and then there's like epic ultra rare ones, and like here's oh yeah, and like this one is just like a frame break, so he kind of just like moves as you move the phone. But it's just fun, it's just simple, it's cool. And like if you just need to pass some time, you can. Like if you're just like, I think when Julie and I were sitting in line to one of the rides when we went to Dolly World for our honeymoon, I was just sitting in line playing Snap. I was like trying to kill 5 minutes every little round. It was just like, it's fun. And I don't like mobile games. The last mobile game I really got addicted to was Pokemon Go, and Pokemon Go's gone downhill in my opinion for a while now. So it was fun to have like a new mobile game to like do some like late night chill on and stuff.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to try this out, because I know that if Ruthie tried it, she would probably get addicted to it.
Yeah.
But I mean,
know what
I think we might like playing it together. I don't know.
That game reminds me of Cartoon Network's G-Tunes. I don't know if you've all ever heard of that.
E-tunes.
No, I haven't.
G-Tunes was like this old website collection card game. And as soon as you showed me that, the picture of that card there, I was like Googling what was that old Cartoon Network card game, and it was G-Tunes. And I'm looking it up now, and people are having the same reactions. Like people are saying that Marvel Snap craves the itch for that old game. I bet I would really like that game because I loved G-Tunes.
Probably would too. And that's kind of cool. So you retain the cards. Like, so is there?
Yeah. You just keep them.
Is there a finite amount of cards where it's like at some point
look.
it's like,
Well,
you have all of them?
The one thing that's cool too is there are also like variants. So like I have Hawkeye, but there's also like pixel art Hawkeye, and then there's like another form. So they also have like variants of it and stuff. So I mean, their website's saying that there's over 200 cards that they have. So who knows like the exact number?
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So it's cool. There's definitely like a lot to collect, and some of it, you know, is behind a paywall, but the other of it's just like if you pay or if you play and like win matches, you get like experience points, and it's kind of like a battle pass, but it's all just free tier, and every time you get to a new one, you can unlock a new card and all this stuff, and you know you can create custom decks, and there's like default decks that are getting given to you to like get things going. So it's been cool, and I see people play it on PC, so it might also be on PC, but I don't know if people just like emulate phones just so they can stream it. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I do know it's on phone. So yeah, that one caught me by surprise to make it to my list. I feel like Pokemon was a given. I've talked about Pokemon a lot. I would say, I mean, like Dragonflight was really cool. I think I talked about it last podcast though. I was just really excited with how this expansion has been. I think Sunhaven would be one that I was like you, I was pretty surprised that I found a game like this, because in a similar sense, how you were kind of told like, hey, you like JRPGs, you like this and this, like we think this like Yakuza is for you, right? When Sunhaven was found, I want to say it was Peter, like me and him were both just trying to find. It's like, I love Stardew Valley, and I was like, I'm wanting another one because like I have, I don't know, 600 hours in that game. So I'm getting kind of bored of like playing it. And so we found Sunhaven, and just recently, a couple weeks ago, it had its like 0.7 release. So they're like super close to 1.0, which is great. But it is everything I was looking for in that like farming simulator game, where there's really fun combat, there's like an actual storyline that's pretty intriguing, there's like monsters, and you can farm, you can just chill and do farm, you can fish, mine, gather resources. They finally added like seasonal stuff in their updates to where, you know, specific seasons grow specific crops. There's like kind of like the whole dating simulator that like some of these games kind of have, you know, you get like romances and stuff. And I don't know, it's crazy how like underrated. Like I'm still on the Sunhaven Discord, and I don't talk in there because I don't really talk in a lot of Discords I'm in, but I used it for like their updates, and it's so crazy how underrated it is and how like no one knows about it. I'm hoping that whenever 1.0 comes out, it's going to be one of those things where like everybody kind of like jumps on it and tries it out and such. Like I could see it kicking off like Stardew Valley did, especially because there was a lot of streamers, like big time streamers that I know loved Stardew Valley. But that game was incredible, and I played a lot of it, and I loved it. And then I was like, okay, I gotta wait for 1.0. So I haven't touched it again, and it's not because I don't want to. It's more of like, okay, now I want to wait for when it's out. Because I think even just in the beta, I think Peter and I started at like maybe like 0.4 or 0.5. I feel like we started at, and it's kind of crazy. They consider that pretty bare, and that game was full of just stuff for being only like a 0.4 release or whatever. Like, it's wild. And because of that, that's why I was like, I'm going to wait for 1.0, because if that's how this game is now, it's kind of how I feel about with like Dreamlight Valley as well. It's like, dude, how is this beta? Because you guys got a lot of content for being a beta game.
Ricky probably put in like 70 hours in the beta of Dreamlight Valley.
Yeah, I mean, that's another one that surprised me. I think out of my list, it's like I knew I'd like Lego, and like God of War, Pokemon, stuff like that. I mean, like League I've played a lot with. But the three that stood out to me was Sunhaven, Marvel Snap, and Dreamlight Valley. Like, Dreamlight Valley was what I want Animal Crossing to be more like. It has a lot more stuff to do in a day that you're not just like locked. Because Animal Crossing, I feel like you just log on, you do your mining, and then you just get off because there's like not much to do. It just like felt like Dreamlight offered a lot more. Yeah. And I'm excited. I mean, it's kind of going into my 2023. It's like, it'd be cool to see maybe if in 2023 they actually release the game fully. And because I know like right now they have the castle that has a ton of doorways to different realms. And it's like, man, this game's going to be huge of all these like fun Disney characters. And, you know, I think it's probably generally agreeable that the Animal Crossing community loves Dreamlight Valley. And when that game comes out fully, it's gonna explode. I think the game's gonna be like a game of the year contender. It's like crazy how much fun people have been having with that already, and it's just in beta. So
I know it's insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just refreshing, and it kind of makes me hope that, like, you know, sometimes I think we've talked about it on the podcast before, where we're like, you know, these big companies kind of shake the other ones into doing certain things, like, you know, like. There's all these articles saying that Sony doesn't care about Game Pass, but it's like you totally know that the reason why Sony has their PlayStation Premium thingy is because Game Pass exists, right? And so I'm hoping that something like Dreamlight Valley, with being Disney, got the Disney funds, which is probably an infinite bank. I'm hoping that kind of makes Animal Crossing be like, should we change some things up? You know, like, should we do some things a little bit different? It's like what I hope that Pokemon, it's like Pokemon doesn't have a competitor. So generally speaking, they do a lot of the same crap. And it's like, bro, how are you not like changing something up? And Animal Crossing for a long time has been the same. So it'd be cool to see it like, obviously I know it's changed. I know that the Switch one was crazy different than a lot of them, but it's like still the core concept of it, not much has like changed in Animal Crossing.
I was gonna say, like, I feel like with Nintendo, it's so hard to tell what they're gonna do, because they usually just kind of stick with what they know how to do. And it's funny because I even read an article today where it was saying like, oh, there's no really any plan of notice or news for a new Switch this coming year, 2023. And
bro, that's
like,
a
how?
joke.
Like,
that's so aggravating to me, actually.
Like, I was like, how? Like you are almost like 2 console generations behind now. Like,
bro.
And like, I'm gonna be very interested to see how Zelda Tears of the Kingdom plays on that console. I'm gonna be very interested.
Yeah, that's kind of aggravating. That is definitely a topic for another day for sure, of what we wish Nintendo would do. But yeah, so that's my list. Like I said, yeah, Maverick was definitely my top movie. I think we all agree that movie was incredible. I've seen it like 5 times by now, I think. But yeah,
and you'll see it 5 times again.
Yeah, for sure. Now it's on, I think, Paramount Plus, I think, which my sister has. So yeah, I'm excited. It's a fun one. We watched it at your parents' over on New Year's. It was good.
Nice. Did my dad cry again?
No, I think he already was teared up from Avatar. I don't think he had any. Tears left in him. Yeah, and then I can't remember. I think Julie fell asleep on that one. I can't remember. I was pretty surprised on New Year's Eve. She stayed up whole time. She didn't fall asleep at all. I know. I know. I was super surprised. But all right, Peter, let's move on to you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, fell asleep during Avatar. I can't believe that. I mean, I can believe it, but
I can't. It's 3 hours long.
well, that's true.
No, Maverick. I think she fell asleep during Maverick.
Okay.
When we were watching at the house. I can't remember.
Oh. Yeah, so I'll get into my list. I have to say, I guess to start, top 3, it's tough, but definitely Elden Ring. I have to say, I actually don't want to say Elden Ring is my top because I think Crisis Core might be my top.
No, don't say that, Peter.
Well, I don't want to. I definitely have some gripes with it, but
I have a lot.
When I played it again, like as a remade game, it made me feel the best way. Like I immediately had this thought in my head of like how to describe it, and it was like the gamiest game I played in a long time. It was like the gamiest game. It had just like the combat and the way that like that everything was done with that game like back in the day just reminded me of what like games used to be like. And I guess that's what remakes sort of are meant to do, but you know, I have a big bias towards this game, of course, because it's always been one of my favorite games of all time.
Well, we've successfully gotten through 2 of your list.
I just have to say that the way they did everything with the combat and maintaining the games and how it used to be, and all the secrets and all the upgrades in the battle system, and it's just I loved and I played the heck out of it as soon as it came out.
That's cool.
So yeah.
I love it too. Yeah, I mean, it definitely reminded me of the things that I, to your point, had gripes on, where I was just like, oh my gosh, like I forgot how grindy this game is if you try to do the missions.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost unbearable.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. But I grinded that grind out so hard.
You beat all 300 missions?
No, but I think I'm max damage. I broke the damage limit for like all of my stats. I'm a really overpowered Zach right now. I love it. But Elden Ring, oh gosh, that game was just.
Hey guys, I'll be right back.
Yeah, you're good.
Keep going. I gotta put this boy to bed.
Yeah, sounds good. No worries.
Yeah. Elden Ring was just everything Dark Souls wrapped up into one large multiplier of a Dark Souls type game.
Yeah.
It's huge. And then God of War, of course. Then I have Resident Evil, the DLC. I seriously don't know how they could have gotten any. Like, I don't know how they could have kept the same type of like atmosphere and then come up with like new puzzles to keep the game fresh and scary. And they did it again in the DLC.
And that was for 7, right? Yeah.
I seriously thought they would have no more ideas to like trick, you know, someone who's playing a scary game into becoming scared again after playing through it and becoming overpowered and getting all the upgrades and stuff like that. But like they did it again in a very, very fresh way with multiple parts of that DLC. So that was incredibly surprising.
Yeah.
I thought it could have easily been a flop, like, or just a generic, you know, not incredibly great, but I thought it was extremely well done for a DLC. Sunhaven, of course. you touched on a lot of it. That game, I definitely put a lot of hours into it, and I was really craving a good farming. I don't even know. Is it just like a farming type game, or
Yeah,
what
I
the
think
official
it's
term is
like
called?
considered like farming simulator role playing.
But that game in particular, like the graphics are so unique and beautiful, and also there's like an overarching story, which I don't know if they have in Stardew Valley.
No, not done in the same way as Sunhaven. No, not really. Because in Sunhaven, you like have those orders from the like the dragon and trying to like restore power and all that kind of stuff. There's not much like that. There's like mini storylines broken up into like Stardew, but nothing as deep in my opinion as Sunhaven.
Yeah, no, and it gets more in depth too, like surprisingly, and it keeps things very fresh. And you don't expect there to be more content, but there is, like, and it just keeps delivering.
Yeah.
That and like you said, it was like and that's only like in 0.5 or something.
Yeah,
like
we were
alpha.
low. Yeah, we were totally
like,
low in the release. It's crazy.
That game reminded me of just the way indie games can defy expectations, the same way that Hollow Knight did, the same way that like Hat in Time did for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only like a $25 game, I think. And it usually has a lot of sales. I know a lot of those like beta games will go on sale a lot to like help obviously like try to fund it and whatnot. So that's always fun too, is that it's cheap to get into. And I think they do have dreams of getting it on the Switch. I don't know if it's for 1.0 right away, but they are working to get it to be Switch compatible, which I feel like when it comes out on 1.0, I think that may be like where I get it on.
I'm trying to slow things down just to give Max some time to come back, but I guess I also want to say, like, WoW Dragonflight. I've been playing a lot of that.
Yeah.
That has been really fun for me. I don't think I've ever felt like I've liked a WoW expansion this much before, since Pandaria, which not a lot of people like that one, but yeah, it's been really fun playing that. Pokemon, of course. And he's back. I was trying to go a little bit slower. So I guess just to recap for you, Max, I talked about Resident Evil DLC and how that one like defied my expectations for a horror game. Like it already went through such a it already delivered such a great fresh experience with a lot of puzzles, but I was just so surprised that a DLC they were still able to deliver more fresh like puzzles that actually scared you and kept the storyline going. And I just don't know how they did it, because I thought they would run out of ideas. I felt like you couldn't get scared anymore.
And that's the DLC for Village, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm so glad it's still going strong.
And then I talked about Sunhaven, just like how much content there is there, and how they sort of defy expectations, like in the same way that I feel like games like Hollow Knight and Hat in Time did for me.
Oh yeah.
And then I was moving on into Pokemon.
Nice.
But yeah, Pokemon. I felt like everything they did in this game was like the right direction, aside from like the ability to be supported on the Switch. And well, that's about
release it. Just release the game.
Yeah. I guess like there were a couple of fall offs in Pokemon for me, which made it not become the top 3 for me. It definitely was almost up there, but like I would just say like later in the game, some of the open worldness is a little bit too open for me, without as much things to do. But then it kind of, everyone should already know that like at the end of a Pokemon game you can get a shiny charm, and that sort of reinvigorates the open world. So until there's sort of a gap in between getting the shiny charm and then, that I wish they would fill with a few more things. But other than that, it was amazing. Are we talking about shows and movies now? I think.
No, it's just a list. It can be. It's up to you. It's just your top list of 2022 for shows, movies, games.
I didn't really watch a whole lot of movies, so I didn't have a whole lot of that on my list. But I will say my top movie was Sonic 2.
See, that movie was so much better than any right to be.
Yeah, that was so good.
Why did I get hype at the end of that movie after the post-credits scene?
Bro, I was screaming.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I kept yelling at Peter. I was like, I told you so. Sonic was going to do this. I knew it. I was freaking out.
Right. I didn't think they were going to do what they did, but you were right.
So much better than the first movie.
So much better.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that they were able to not have to put in all those ads. And then,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I loved having Knuckles and Tails in the movie.
Yeah.
It was so good.
That was needed. They really needed that. That was good.
They were so cool. It was so cool. And I like
Sonic 3 is going to be great.
I just hope Carrie comes back.
He may not. He said that was his last movie ever, which is so funny that he's ending on Sonic 2.
I don't know what to do.
His last line will literally be "later, losers."
Yeah. Yep.
I think they're gonna try to make that guy who's his assistant become the new Eggman.
Well, they could also just focus on what the post-credit scene was about too, because that was a villain in itself that we don't really need Eggman for anyways, you know?
That's true.
So I think that would make sense to just focus on that, and he doesn't have to really become a good person for a while if they don't want him to be. He can kind of like stick as a villain as well, but
yeah, that's true.
I was more excited about the end credit scene for a Sonic movie than I have been for a Marvel movie in like years.
For real though, these Marvel ones have been dropping the ball.
I'm more excited about the Sonic universe than the Marvel universe at this point.
So, honestly, I think the majority of people out there are feeling the same way. I feel like Marvel has really been not, like, the quality has not been there since Endgame, I feel like, in a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But yeah. I was going to say, whenever, and I don't want to interrupt you, I'm sorry, Peter. I was going to say I actually do have some shows that I wanted to touch on just super quick after you're done, but I want to make sure you get through all your stuff before I mention it.
This was pretty much the last thing. But Black Panther 2 was really good. I'm just disappointed that it didn't give anything after, like, that really... talked about like what's gonna happen, because I just have this lingering thing in the back of my mind of just still like, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna ever do this again? But like I think people talked about how it sounds like they have been saying like they are gonna stop doing this, like teasing what's coming next and everything's just gonna be standalone. I really don't know what to think anymore. But like a part of every time I just watch a Marvel movie, I just hope that there's like something at the end of it that's going to be like, how is this going to tie into how is this going to tie everything together? And it doesn't happen.
It keeps seeming like they're like dropping bombs on like big villains too. Like Kang the Conqueror's coming out for Quantumanium, and it's like, bro, that's a big villain. Like, is this like a big deal that he's in Ant-Man and the Wasp or Ant-Man Quantumanium? Or is it like a little deal that he's in, and then you had like the Loki show with that guy. It's just like, okay, you keep dropping all these big baddie bombs, but like nothing's happening. So what's the deal?
Yeah, gosh, that's a podcast in and of itself. Just talking about the state of Marvel right now.
For real. What about Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad? Didn't you watch those for the first time this year?
Oh yeah, I forgot to put those on there because I was thinking of only things in 2022. But
yeah, isn't that when you watched them? Was it 2022?
Yeah, but I thought it was like things that came out during 2022.
Oh no, it's just whatever that you did.
Mean, technically, season 5 or 6 or the final season might have come out this year.
Oh, true.
Which
true.
I don't know if I'm even on it because I've been binge watching it so crazily that like I blew through season 1 through 5. I'm like, I love it so much. Better Call Saul, that is. Yeah, I blew through Breaking Bad just as quickly, and I find myself referencing situations from those movies just like all the time, almost on a daily basis.
You probably catch a lot of references too. I know a lot of people talk about that show,
it's like,
or both of them.
A lot of those.
Breaking Bad. Now. Yeah, Breaking Bad still to this day is considered one of the greatest shows of all time, and like Better Call Saul is probably going to be up there too. Like they just such amazing storytelling in both of those shows. Sad as all get out. Such a like depressing show of like the worst of humanity.
Yeah, for real. Like, the main character is not a great person.
No, in either show.
Yeah.
But you can sympathize with them still, though. It's like,
it's like watching The Sopranos, and I'm like, man, I really sympathize for Tony, but gosh, he's pretty mean. Some of the things that he'll do to people is like, oh, he's still the owner of like a mob. So it's like
that's the mark of a good show, though. In a lot of sense, I feel though is like if the writing and the narrative is that strong, you'll follow anyone. And like The Sopranos is considered, probably is still considered like the greatest show of all time.
I think it's still
a lot of outlets.
It's HBO. Wasn't that HBO, right?
Yeah, it was like their most successful show before Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean that thing was. I mean, for a long time was just like it's one of the goats for sure. It's crazy.
Well, if you're done, Peter, I just wanted to go back. I just have a few TV shows I wanted to touch on real quick, and then if you guys want to, we can jump into our excited.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
For 2023. So the shows I wanted to mention for 2022 are The Bear on Hulu, Dairy Girls on Netflix, Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, The Sandman, Abbott Elementary, Better Call Saul, Arcane, The Boys, and Peacemaker. Those are my top shows.
I gotta watch Peacemaker. I didn't know you watched The Boys. That's cool. You say
The Boys is I'm a big fan of his name escapes me right now, but the guy who wrote the comic The Boys, because he also wrote the comic Preacher, which is my favorite comic of all time.
Okay.
Completely nihilistic, super dark, bloody show. I mean, it's just like it is very much the antithesis of Marvel or any kind of superhero genre. But in that sense, that's I think what makes it refreshing for me is I really kind of like that the superheroes are the villains. It's a fun show. I don't really have too much to say on it, other than it's a guilty pleasure of mine. I really like The Boys. I think it's a lot of fun.
That's actually cool. Apparently, the guy who did it, Eric Kripke, maybe is how you say it. He also did some of the like original Supernatural, and I'm starting to really understand why that show started to suck after about season 5. That's just a small little aside as I'm Googling over here. A lot of things are really piecing itself together right now.
You're good. I'm not going to touch on Arcane too much because we've all seen Arcane, but I will thank Peter and Tyler for introducing me to Arcane, because Arcane was something else. It was like still to this day, I truly believe that is the best animation I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it is like unreal.
Yeah, it's cool.
Animation. The style, like I don't know how they did it. It's so beautiful. It's like it. I can't wait to see it again. I hope I'm gonna watch it again. Like I would watch it again. Kind of like it's up there for me of like rewatchability as like Avatar is. Like I watch Avatar and Korra maybe every like 3 years, just because I always like to go back and rewatch it. I would do that with Arcane.
Yeah, that's cool.
But the 3 shows I really wanted to touch on are kind of sleeper shows. Everyone knows what House of the Dragon is. Everyone knows what Rings of Power is. This was just a great year for fantasy TV for me. A lot of things that I love, like in literary sense, have kind of been able to be made real in these shows. The Sandman for me is one of those shows on Netflix, and it did get renewed for a second season, surprisingly, because I totally thought it would get canceled. But it's just a great British drama based off of Neil Gaiman's magnum opus comic book series called The Sandman, and it follows this character his name is Dream. His name is Dream. And I think I explained this to Peter at one point, but like in this world, there are these immortal beings called the Endless, and each of them they're all brothers and sisters. They were there at the beginning of time, and their names all start with D. And Dream was one of the oldest of the Endless, and he resides over the realm of dreams. Like he creates good dreams and nightmares, and like he just kind of has his own world and kingdom in the realm of dreams. And so the whole story of the Sandman revolves around him and how he learns how to gain humanity, because he's so apart from humans that he doesn't know how to interact with them well. And there's other characters, of course. There's Death, there's Desire, Despair, Destruction, Destiny. Like all of his brothers and sisters have a part to play in the real world. And that's all I'm really going to say on the show. I highly recommend it to you both. I think the story of it is so unique. There's a lot of horror. There's a little like minor horror aspects to it. It's more fantasy than horror. But there are just moments in the show that are just like, wow, like this is something I've never seen on TV before. It's so unique in that sense. I definitely would recommend you guys check it out. Even if we just like watch it together one day and I'm just like, let's watch the first episode and see what you think.
Yeah.
But it's wild. It's a wild ride. And then the other 2 shows that honestly for me are probably my top 2 because of just how feel good they are. And I've needed a lot of feel good shows this year specifically, but are The Bear and Dairy Girls. Dairy Girls is another show on Netflix that no one really talks about. That is set in Derry, Ireland, and it follows these 5 girls and a boy who's English. All the other girls are Irish. Thick Irish accents. They're super funny. And there's one boy in the group, and he's from England, and they still call him a dairy girl. They're just like, you're part of our group, so you're a dairy girl. They're all in high school, like in this prep school. And it's set in like the 1980s, I believe. And it's just about them living through the Troubles, which is the term deemed of like the Civil War in Ireland between the Protestants and the Catholics, when there was like literally like barricades across most of northern and southern Ireland, where there was just a lot of death and military action in the country. It was just completely consumed in civil war. And it sounds dark, but the show is a comedy. It's a comedy. It's more so about focusing on these girls and their day-to-day life and their day-to-day lives as they kind of go around this like really hard moment in human history. And it's just so refreshing. The show made me tear up multiple times. It's very funny. It's very quick-witted. And I don't know. It's a lovely show. It's really fun. I highly recommend it. And then the other show that I would say is probably my number 1 show of the year is called The Bear, and it's on Hulu, like I said. And it's a show about this guy named Carmy, He's Italian, and he is given his brother's restaurant, which is a place called the Beefland of Chicago, which is like it's this like rundown, like hole in the wall sandwich shop. And he is this guy who has been a chef who over the past like 5 years has trained with like the highest culinary arts. Like he has worked in the greatest restaurant in the world, and then his brother committed suicide and passed on his restaurant to him.
Dang.
And so he comes home, he takes back the restaurant and tries to transform it into an establishment that would rival a 5-star restaurant in like France or something like that. You know, like he kind of takes his like his terminology of that. And the show is very stressful. It's like, because you are in the kitchen every episode. There's only 8 episodes. They're all 30 minutes long. And you are following all these characters and him trying to run his restaurant and just the chaos that ensues. And I've never worked in the, in that industry of, you know, like running a restaurant, being in the kitchen, being a sous chef, anything like that. But from the people in my life that are in that industry, they said it hit them so hard because it's so true to life of like how stressful being in that industry is, day in and day out. And it's just such a great show about just human connection, about redemption, you know, forgiveness. Like there's just so many great moments in the show that, and it has one of the best endings of a season I've ever seen, where I was like, if the show ended with just this one season, I would be happy. I was like, this was the perfect ending for a show. And it also has, I never remember his name, but the guy that plays Shane in The Walking Dead, he's one of the main characters in the show.
Oh, man. He's all over the place.
He is. He's just in these random shows. And I love it.
He's in like high-end movies, low-end like shows.
Oh, I've seen him in Shameless.
Yeah. John Bernthal.
John Bernthal. But
he was the Punisher.
Yep, he was the Punisher. But to your point, Peter, yes, the main character is Lip from Shameless. And so I really hope he wins awards for his role as Carmi in this show. He was a powerhouse. Like, he was unreal. I can't stress enough how good Jeremy White, or I'm probably butchering his name. I don't think it's even that, but like he was a phenomenal actor in it.
That's him.
So for all of you listening, for all of us here, please watch The Bear. Oh. It's unreal. Just such a great story. But yeah, that's everything for me.
That's gonna be fun to watch with my chef roommate.
There you go. He might. I bet he would love it. Probably. Hopefully.
I'm excited.
So, with all that excitement, what about for 2023? What are we looking for in this upcoming year?
Oh boy.
Who wants to go first?
I got a few things. I don't really have the longest list ever, and a couple of the things I don't really know when they'll come out. But I have this game called Wild Hearts. I'm looking forward to that one.
Ooh, that's a
Hogwarts Legacy in February 10th.
Yep. That's on mine too.
Octopath Traveler 2, February 24th. Hoping that one will depend on kind of if they do the story a little bit cooler compared to the first one. I didn't like how uninteractive everyone was. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, March 17th. Baldur's Gate 3, which is just kind of August. Resident Evil 4 Remake, March 24th. Street Fighter 6, June 2nd. I have on here Starfield, if it's a Game Pass game, which I feel like it probably will be.
It will.
That one confuses the heck out of me because people are like, this game is so revolutionary. I can't. And I'm like, isn't this No Man's Sky? Like, people are freaking out being like, Bethesda's really changing the game, blah. And I'm like, are we watching the same video? Because like legit, this is like how, yeah, this is like how No Man's Sky presented itself. Obviously, I get there's like the big town and there's like storyline. I mean, I understand that, but like the core of it, like the 1,000+ planets, and then you travel. You got literally the same type of mining mechanic where you scan walls and it tells you like, hey, this is iron. Now you have your little beam cannon to mine the iron. It's like there's a lot of similarities, and I'm really confused, but. And then there was talks of The Wolf Among Us 2 that also just doesn't have a release date. So that'd be yeah, that'd be cool to see if a second one actually did come out this year. So I think that's the only one that's up in the air. Dreamlight as well. That'd be cool if Dreamlight came out of beta. And then we know Starfield. We just don't know the exact date. And yeah, I'd say out of all this, like Baldur's Gate, I'm the most excited for. And Resident Evil 4 Remake, I think it's going to be really fun. And then if Street Fighter 6, which I know it won't be, but if that game was a Game Pass game, that'd probably be one of the best Game Pass games to play because it looks cool. I just don't know if I want to pay $60 for it, but it kind of like, it's giving me the vibe that it's going to like try to alter up a little bit of how the fighting games are supposed to be, and that's exciting.
I mean, I can see it maybe coming to Game Pass because when Street Fighter V came out, it came out right on PlayStation Plus. Like you could just jump in.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. And then, I mean, I think I'm also hoping that Hogwarts Legacy lives up to what it's doing. I think it will, because a lot of what Hogwarts Legacy has been showing has been just straight up gameplay. Yeah. So that's at least encouraging. I know that a lot of like cyberpunk stuff was a lot of just talking and like theorizing what the game was going to be about. And it seems like the way Hogwarts is doing it is saying, hey, this is coming to our game. Take a look, and like showing it it looks really good. It looks really fun. I think it's going to be a lot of what consumes probably my February up until I don't even know, probably like a while, depending on when Starfield and how like fun that is. So that's mainly what I'm looking forward to for 2023.
Do you see Baldur's Gate 3 like completely taking over your life gaming wise once it comes out?
That game's gonna be pretty long. If anything that I know that Larian Studios does, I mean, gosh, I've talked about this so much, but I've replayed the Divinity Original Sin games, I don't know, 30 times each. And every single time I play it, there's like something new. And I'm like, dude, how do you guys have so much secrets in this game? How do I keep finding new stuff constantly? I mean, their games are crazy how long they are. I think like if you look at, let's see, Divinity Sin, how long to beat. If you look up on that like how long to beat like website, I mean the hours that you can put into this thing, it's like main plus storyline, 109 hours, 102 hours. 100%ing it, 176 hours, 160 hours. It's just like there's so much, and I love the way Baldur's Gate originally was in, like the gameplay style. I think that stuff is really fun, but it's a little older now. It's, things have changed. Pillars of Eternity did a pretty good way of kind of remaking it, but the way that Larian Studios has done their combat has been some of the best turn-based I've ever played. So nice. I'm excited because they're all like massive Baldur Gate like meatheads, and they were so excited to be able to like do the new game. And they're keeping their style. A lot of it's like terrain manipulation, and the turn-based combat's really like fun and interactive, and it doesn't feel like each combat feels new because of how the terrain is, and like you could enter combat in just so many different ways, angles, and yeah, it's just fun. It's gonna be really, really cool. I'm excited for it.
Awesome. Peter, did you want to go next?
Sure. I am pretty excited about a couple that most of them were announced at the Game Awards. And I'm actually kind of excited for Death Stranding 2 because I want a reason to play Death Stranding 1. I want it to actually, I want it to be one of those IPs because I was originally excited for Death Stranding 1 and then I heard about like what it was all about and gameplay wise and I was like, ugh.
It's like, why do I want to be an Amazon delivery man?
So I want
some people love this.
I want it to succeed in the places it didn't in the first game, and I really hope, as a really experienced and standalone now game developer, like since he moved away from
Kojima,
and like he has. I feel like he's got to be aware of his first standalone title and how it did. Well, I don't know if it's his very first, but
I think it's the first under like the Kojima Productions or whatever that company's called.
And so I hope as Kojima Productions, they like hear some of the audience that wasn't interested. I know it almost seemed like at first it seemed like a lot of people were turned away from the game, but then I really saw quite a big following of people that like accepted the Amazon delivery gameplay.
Because a lot of people loved it.
I think one of the funniest things was that Norman Reedus, like people asked him what it's about, and he was just like, I have no idea. I think that was like some of people's favorite parts was that they're like, even he doesn't know what the game's about.
So I hope that it becomes a game that I would be interested in. But if it's not, maybe it's just one of those situations where it's like, for certain people, like some people don't like Dark Souls, and maybe it's just like a certain type of game that not everyone's into. So,
yeah, you don't have to like everything.
But I'm also another similar situation. Hades 2. I never played Hades 1. I hope Hades 2
Hades
being fresh will make me want to play both games, which I'm sure it will. So I'm excited that they're continuing that series.
Great. Yeah.
Also, just. What was it? Armored Core. Whatever the heck that is. I never played the original, but whatever.
Yeah, is it like number 6 or something like that?
Yeah, Armored Core 6. Yeah.
And I was like, man, where's 1 through 5? I've never heard of these games. They look awesome.
I don't want to overhype it, but
the trailer very much overhypes the game.
Dude, yeah, it overhypes the heck out of it. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a Gundam game. When they were showing, because they showed, what was it, like Bandai? I forgot who did it. But it's like,
Bandai Namco. Yeah.
They showed, and I was like, bro, is this Gundam? Are we going to get a Gundam game? And then I was like, oh, wait, this isn't Gundam.
Right, because we hardly have any Gundam games out there of the modern day. I could be totally wrong about that, but ones that...
None of any big consequence, yeah.
Yeah, ones that are just... So that's just fresh. Star Wars, of course. Jedi Survivor. Very curious to see what that is. Gosh, so many things. Honestly, Lords of the Fallen. I keep hearing about that. I'm still not sure what that's all about. It seems almost like a die, come back to life type of 3D Dark Souls-y game, but I don't know. I don't know exactly yet. I guess something like. Street Fighter, Cyberpunk, the DLC.
Dude, didn't that actually look kind of cool though?
Yeah, I was like, and a lot of games that are making me excited for their failures.
It's so aggravating when like Cyberpunk gets arguably one of the coolest actors right now, and it's like they did it with Keanu Reeves, right? And then they get what's it?
Elba.
Dude, I love that guy. And it's like
everything.
He is. And it's like, man, how do you guys keep getting these people? And I watched that trailer of it and I was like, dude, that looks so cool. I just like know how your gameplay is and I just don't care. That's so frustrating.
Yeah.
Richard. Yeah, it's like
And then to end it off, I think I'm most excited for Judas. Over all things, that is the most unexpected revival of a well-known game studio. I never knew what they were called before, but when I
Ghost
just heard
Story Games.
BioShock, like,
Oh my god!
talk about like, and then
I forgot about that one. I gotta put that on mine.
there's
So much.
nothing more exciting to me than when you mention some game company that's well known for something, and then they show a trailer for a new IP, and it has the same heart and soul of the content or of the games that you know that they made in the past, but it's different.
Yeah.
But you can tell that it still has the same passion, and that's what the trailer for Judas looked like. It had so much, like, it just looked like BioShock, but it's Judas. I mean, it didn't look exactly like BioShock, but it just looked like it had the heart and soul of like that type of game.
Definitely
And
like
I'm
the
like,
crazy
whoa.
peopleness of it and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm
And
like,
I mean,
whoa.
this is his first thing since Infinite, which people give Infinite a lot of crap, and I get it. The story is kind of woo woo and like not the greatest thing compared to the first two BioShocks, but like visually and stuff, I still think it's incredible. I loved how they did the world in Infinite,
I loved it.
and it's just it's cool that like now this is what's like 9 years later he's doing something new, so it's cool.
Yeah, I love his storytelling. Because, yeah, I'm not even much of a shooter guy myself, but like games like BioShock, games like Wolfenstein, like that have a strong narrative, like I totally get into. I'm so glad you mentioned Judas, Peter, because I completely forgot about that.
I did too. That's on my
that is
list.
definitely one that I'm going to buy. Like, I will buy that.
And there's no release date. I think it's just also one of those like it is coming. It could be 2023, but it's just kind of like up in the air.
Very true. So I'll run through mine real quick. I don't have too much more than what you guys stated. I'm of the same mind. I'm very excited for Hogwarts. That's a game I feel like Ruthie and I would really enjoy playing together. And I love playing video games together. Jedi Survivor, of course, and then Judas. And then me being the JRPG guy, I'm really excited because they're releasing in March and then another one in June. 2 more Trails games, Trails of Azure, and then Trails of Reverie is coming out in March and June of their own accord. And at that point, North America will be almost fully caught up with the Trails series in a sense where like we now have all the games heading into this new arc that right now is only in Japan, Trails of Black, but that will be coming over to the West shortly. But I love those games. But the bar to get into it is so hard because it's just massive.
It's like 80 games.
It feels like it. Right now it's only 9. Thank you. No, but only 9. But I have heard it compared to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but for video games.
That's
like
cool.
in terms of like world building and like characters and stuff like that. Like it's just it's anime in a video game, and I love every bit of it. And I think one of the things I really love about the series is that the story is consistently good for a JRPG, and they don't care too much about graphics. And that's the reason why they're able to come out with another game every 2 years, is because they're just like, we're going to keep using the same engine for this entire story saga, and then when we move to the next country, it's a new engine, or like we'll upgrade the engine a little bit. And I just feel like Falcom, this series just flies under the radar. Like really not many people play it. And I feel like it's such a shame because the story of it is just so powerful. There's like over 30 main characters at this point, each of them that have a well-rounded and well-built story, unlike anything I've ever played. It's unreal. There's that. I'm excited for Final Fantasy 16. Looks or like Dark Souls Final Fantasy 16. It looks like, but you know, I'm here for it. I'm here for something new and I'm hoping it's good. I'm keeping my fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy has kind of done me dirty over the last decade. I feel like, ever since 12, I've never really loved a Final Fantasy game other than Remake. FF7 Remake was phenomenal. But I'm just really hoping that 16 will reignite my passion for Final Fantasy, because I will always go back to 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 forever. Like, the music is iconic. Like, it is nostalgic for me. Like, it is still my favorite JRPG series of all time, just for those games alone. But
some people think 9's gonna have a remake.
I would love it. I mean, I'd be on board. Keep remaking them. I don't care.
Yeah. People are guessing
with
it.
the 3 girls.
No, that's 10-2.
That's 10-2.
9 is epic.
9 is so good. 9 is in my top 3.
You could play it on the Switch with cheat codes, makes the game so much faster, but you still get like the story and stuff. It's
yep.
It's
That's
really
exactly
good.
what I did on the Switch. I got the Switch version, and it's so great.
Yeah.
I actually may replay it this year. I've been kind of feeling drawn to it again.
It's beautiful.
But the writer for 16 is the guy that has done. He was on Final Fantasy XIV's storyboard.
The online game?
Yeah, the online game. Yeah,
Nice.
Oh, wow.
He's heading the story for 16. He also did 12.
Oh,
so
man. Get rid of that dude who did Kingdom Hearts.
Oh,
Jeez.
Yeah, please.
Oh my goodness.
Get him out of there.
just let him do Kingdom Hearts if he wants to. Just like give Final Fantasy to someone else, please.
Yeah,
Well,
really.
Yeah. I will say.
Yeah, I don't want to wish anybody to lose their job or anything, but homie needs to like figure something out, because he.
Too late
I
for
will say
that. I already said
he
get
did a
him out.
pretty good job with Remake. I will say that, but the story was already built for.
Well,
Remake.
he had that.
Yeah. But so yeah, there's that. Those are probably my big like JRPG ones that I'm really looking forward to. There was like one more. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to think of what it was.
What kind of style game was it?
Oh, it's a weird style of game. Did you guys ever play on the DS or Game Boy Advance Mega Man Battle Network?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
So on Nintendo Switch, they are coming out with the Mega Man Battle Collection. And this is not like typical Mega Man, like Mega Man 1 through 6 or whatever, like where it was like side-scrolly. This is like a narrative-driven Mega Man game that had like a grid battle system. And I loved it. I loved playing these games on my Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance. And they're re-releasing them on the Switch, all 10 games, in a big collection. And
cool.
I am going to buy the heck out of that and
That's
play it in
cool.
my spare time. Like,
Nice.
I'm just looking forward to that. Also, they're coming out with a One Piece Odyssey game. That's what I was thinking of. Where it's the people that I've never loved a One Piece game. I love One Piece, but
They've all kind of sucked, right?
Yeah, they've all kind of sucked. I'm excited for this one because it's a JRPG, turn-based battle system, and it's partnered with the people that done Dragon Quest. And so the art of the game and the enemy styles are very much like Dragon Quest. And I honestly thought that was brilliant because I was like, that goofy, cartoony Dragon Ball style of Dragon Quest fits very well with the levity and the world of One Piece. And I was like, this actually sounds like a brilliant idea.
Is it turn-based?
Bro, this comes out in 4 days.
Ooh.
It does?
Yeah, January 10th, One Piece Odyssey. Max, you get to play this game in 4 days.
Well, I don't know. I might play the demo first. I'm very wary with like anime.
Yeah,
videos.
there is a demo, so yeah, that's good.
Is the demo out?
I see IGN has a demo official video thing, so if this game comes out in 4 days, it's gotta have a demo, right?
Yeah, it's got to. I might play the demo tomorrow and let you guys know my thoughts.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
It says
Yeah.
on PlayStation 6 days until game release.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
It's not bad.
Oh yeah, so it's coming out. Let's see, it's scheduled for release
January
January
12th?
13th, And then maybe 10th is like a Japanese release or something like that. Like maybe like the 10th is like an official Japanese, and then the 13th, 3 days later. I know they do that with some of their games.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Sweet, that got me excited. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
I know. I was like, okay, like if this is a good game, I'd buy it. I have nothing really to play other than Crisis Core right now until Hogwarts. So I was like,
that's cool.
I'd love to play something with One Piece.
How far are you in Crisis Core right now?
I'm very much. I'm right at the end of the game now. I keep going back and forth on whether I'm going to platinum this game because in order to platinum it, you have to beat every single mission.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
And I don't know if I can do it, Peter. I really don't know. I'm trying to push through, but it is a slog. It's a slog.
You gotta do it on both normal and hard, right?
Normally, but you can actually just switch the difficulty to hard for the final battle and get both trophies. So I was just going to do that and just do it in one playthrough.
Wow, you really have looked into this.
Hey, I'm a completionist, man. Yeah. When I play a game, I try and complete it the first time. I'm just like, I want to complete this thing 100% if I can. And then last note, very quick, Persona 3 and Persona 4 are coming to Game Pass and all other systems on the 19th. For all of our listeners, please play these games. They are all masterpieces. If you love Persona 5, I guarantee you will love the story of 3 and 4. Play them. That's it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking at some One Piece video footage right now. And Dragon Quest, big vibes.
Yeah, that cartoony.
Yeah, this looks good. It's a shame that I know absolutely zero about these characters, but this looks pretty promising.
It's okay. It's a one-off story. Like anything, like the movies and the games, like they all are like not canon.
Yeah.
But like they take place like as you journey, here's another adventure on a random island. You know, like so.
That's cool.
Anyone can get into it. Yeah.
Well, sweet. So we got a lot of fun things coming up for sure. I got them all written down, so I will make sure to post these in all the descriptions of our YouTube video and then on the descriptions of the podcast, which we now have on Apple, Google, I think Amazon, and something else that I can't remember. Oh, and Anchor. I think you can listen to it on. Oh, yeah, Spotify. Oh, we have a few. Nice. We actually do have a few. Yeah, Spotify, Anchor, Apple, Google. I didn't realize Google had its own, but we have that. And then, Amazon I haven't got set up yet, but we're trying to. So, yeah, I'll put it all in the descriptions there so everybody has them. Cool. Well, I mean, any last minute things? You want to just wrap it up?
Yeah. Just look forward to this year, everybody. I think we're going to be trying a few new things this year, like we mentioned on the last show. We got, we're talking about expanding our show types, and we're going to be doing, I know that Tyler, you had mentioned doing a Pokemon, starting a Pokemon show as well, and talking about all things Pokemon. And we were thinking of a fun show called Popcorn Addicts, where we really just kind of focus in on a movie that all three of us have seen, or even if we just do kind of like, if I just do it for like a review of a movie I've watched recently that I wanted to touch base on. So we're just trying to expand, and instead of trying to shoehorn everything into one episode every single time, really kind of diversify a little bit and break out the show. And I hope everyone enjoys it. But they'll come sporadically as we build this out, but I think it's going to be a really fun year of content.
Yeah, definitely. And make sure to give us a good old subscribe on YouTube. You can find us at Nerd Alert. That is what we are on YouTube. And then you can find us also on Twitter, which we don't use, but hey, you can still follow us there. And then please make sure if you are watching us or listening to us on Spotify or Apple or Google, give us that 5-star review, because it definitely helps for discovery purposes for sure. Let us know what you think. Let us know what we could change, what we're doing well, all that jazz. But yeah, as always, we really appreciate you all listening, and we hope you all have a good one.
Have a good night.
Have a good
Enjoy the year.